Now taking the floors are members of the United States Army Drill Team. We ask that no one use flash photography as the soldiers are using real weapons with sharpened bayonets. However, we do encourage you to cheer and applaud the soldiers throughout their performance. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Drill Team soloists. These elite soldiers from the drill team will now display a series of dangerous and complex maneuvers. These experts have trained for years to become part of this daring routine, which involves complex timing and precise movements with zero room for error. In addition to their roles here, these soldiers also serve as senior trainers, imparting their expertise to the next generation of drill team soldiers. Today's soloists from left to right are Specialist Michael Moore from Austin, Texas. Specialist Arthur Garner from Evans, Georgia. And Private First Class Bryson Valdez from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Today, the soloists are led by Sergeant First Class Christian Stokes from Richmond, Virginia. This portion of the routine is extremely dangerous as soldiers throw their rifles inches from the leader's face. These soldiers must throw and catch their rifles in perfect unison in order to avoid serious injuries. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the United States Army Drill Team soloists. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also pleased to welcome Swallow School from Heartland, Wisconsin. At this time, we would like to recognize all the veterans and their families that have joined us here tonight by performing the songs of the armed services. When you hear your service song or that of a loved one who has served, we ask that you stand to be recognized. The United States Coast Guard.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, high shall our purpose be. Sympathize is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight and die, I Coast Guard, we are for you.
The United States Air Force.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun, give her the gun. Down we dive, starting our flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame or go down in flame. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force.
The United States Navy.
Anchors aweigh, my boys, anchors aweigh. Farewell to foreign shores, we sail at break of day. Through our last night on shore, drink to the full, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
The United States Marine Corps.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, then to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Army Song.
March along, sing our song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. It is high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cannons loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Ladies and gentlemen, it's nights like tonight where we honor our nation's history that I am reminded of what a great country this is. So I ask that you please stand and join me in honoring America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home, my home.
Good evening. As a reminder, blank ammunition will be fired from some of the weapons this evening, so please be prepared if you or your children are sensitive to loud noises. Twilight Tattoo celebrates America's Army, the strength of the nation. For over 242 years, soldiers of your Army, active duty, National Guard, and Army Reserve have remained the nation's force of decisive action, committed to protecting our hard-earned rights and liberties at home and abroad. Our nation's greatest generation are built on the strength of America's strongest citizens, our servicemen and women in uniform. On behalf of our host, the Honorable Mark T. Esper, welcome to Fort Myer in this evening's performance of Twilight Tattoo. The American Revolution was our 8-year-long struggle for independence. The conflict witnessed the birth of America's Army on 14 June 1775. Though the raw militia units that comprised that force were severely tested in the early years of the Revolution, under the leadership of General George Washington, a professional American army emerged from the trials and tribulations of Valley Forge as a trained, battle-tested, and highly organized fighting force comprised of Continental Infantry, mounted dragoons, and artillery.
Sound assembly! To the front, march! Make ready! Take aim! Fire! Advance! Arms! To the front, march!
The commander of troops this evening is Lieutenant Colonel Todd Burrows, Commander, 4th Battalion, 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. The Army's senior official is its civilian secretary, who in principle is the Chief Executive Officer of the Department of the Army. The Secretary of the Army is subject only to the direction, authority, and control of the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary is nominated by the President of the United States and confirmed by the U.S. Senate, and has statutory responsibility for all matters relating to the Army, including equipment and acquisition and logistics, civil works, financial management, installations, energy and environmental issues, and manpower and reserve affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening's Twilight Tattoo is hosted by the 23rd Secretary of the Army, the Honorable Mark T. Esper. Secretary Esper graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point in 1986 and commissioned into the infantry. He served on active duty for over a decade, including service in the 1990 to 1991 Gulf War with the 101st Airborne Division. He later commanded an airborne rifle company in Europe. Following active duty, he served in both the Virginia and District of Columbia National Guard and Army Reserve before retiring in 2007. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary would like to extend a warm welcome to this evening's guests of honor. Ms. Jen Stewart, Staff Director for the House Armed Service Committee. Ms. Diane Layfield, Gold Star Mother of Lance Corporal Travis Layfield. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as honors are rendered. Please be seated. Once again, welcome to Fort Myer in this evening's special performance of Twilight Tattoo, Army Strong. The origin of American military music can be traced to the fifers and drummers of the Revolutionary War. This musical heritage is represented today by the soldiers of the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. These active duty musicians honor the soldiers of the past while displaying the discipline, professionalism, and precision of today's Army to audiences around the globe. As the Corps concludes their performance with their stately and traditional troop step, we ask that you keep in mind the men and women of all the United States Armed Forces that currently serve in harm's way. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. Less than a generation after the American Revolution, the Army was again called upon to defend our national sovereignty in the War of 1812. In battles that raged from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico, American soldiers endured and persevered. As our nation's capital and the entire Chesapeake region was threatened in the summer of 1814, a small force of soldiers and militia held out against an invading British force and fleet at a small post near Baltimore, Maryland.
Make ready. Take aim. Fire. Advance. Firelocks. We've been under constant attack the last 2 days. The enemy's pressed us hard. They've been shelling Fort McHenry almost nonstop. But the men endure the horrors of battle and the bombardment like veterans. The courage and strength of the regular soldiers and the militia remains unbroken despite the hardships. We have a bond. We trust each other and our officers, and we know we will prevail. This morning at dawn, the fort's commander ordered an enormous flag to be raised to show the enemy that we will not be defeated. They say it can be seen for miles. That flag is our nation's symbol, our badge of honor, and it will not be lowered for this or for any foe.
Over 200 years ago, our national anthem was born as Francis Scott Key observed our glorious flag continuing to fly over the ramparts at Fort McHenry. Please rise and join in singing the Star-Spangled Banner.
Present, present.
Please be seated. America's Army played a pivotal role in shaping the early republic, but in 1860, clouds of war gathered once again on the horizon. For 4 long years, battles raged in places called Shiloh, Antietam, Gettysburg, and the Wilderness. Over 600,000 Americans died in the war between the states as brother fought brother to determine the fate of the country. Many of the fallen were laid to rest in a newly established cemetery on the grounds of an estate overlooking Washington, D.C.
Settle down. I thought I'd die an old man back in my hometown. They gave me this plot of land, me and some other men, for a job well done. There's a big white house, it's on a hill just up the road. The man inside, he cried the day they brought me home. They folded up a flag and told my mom and dad, we're proud of your son. And I'm proud to be on this peaceful piece of property. I'm on sacred ground and I'm in the best of company. I'm thankful for the things I've done. And I can rest in peace, I'm one of the chosen ones. I made it to Arlington. I remember Daddy brought me here when I was 8. We searched all day to find out where my granddad lay. And when we finally found that cross, he said, son, this is what it cost to keep us free. Now here I am, 1,000 stones away from him. He recognized me on the first day I came in, and it gave me a chill when he clicked his heels and saluted me. And I'm proud to be on this peaceful piece of property. I'm on sacred ground and I'm in the best of company. And I'm thankful for the things I've done. And I can rest in peace, I'm one of the chosen ones. I made it to Arlington. Yeah, dust to dust, don't cry for us. We made it to Arlington.
Today, Arlington National Cemetery is the final resting place of over 400,000 American heroes, men and women who proudly wore their nation's uniform and served in times of peace and war. We honor their bravery, their sacrifices, and their commitment to preserving the freedoms we as Americans continue to enjoy. The small frontier army that came into being after the Civil War and helped open the American West would evolve into a larger and more complex fighting force that first appeared on the world stage in the Spanish-American War. Then, in 1917, the Army was called upon to deploy massive formations overseas to defeat the armies of the German Kaiser in World War I. This year, as we commemorate the centennial of America's participation in the Great Offensive of the war, we recall the vicious trench warfare that raged across the battlefields of Western Europe, where American soldiers stood side by side with our allies, bringing about a victory in what became known as the Great War.
I've lost a lot of soldiers in hard combat these last few months as we pushed the Germans back. One of them was a young man from Iowa. Private Martin Treptow, just 24 years old. When we mailed his personal effects to his family, we found a message written inside the cover of his journal. He had written, "America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost, as if the issue of this whole struggle depended on me alone." I've asked myself many times, how was he able to maintain such an outlook in the middle of all of this horror? I still don't know the answer, but I think in all of us, as American soldiers, there's a sense of duty, a realization that the sacrifices made by our forefathers cannot have been in vain. I've heard it said that freedom is never more than one generation from extinction. It's our turn to stand up and fight for the rights and liberties that our fathers and grandfathers also battled for. It's the reason we're over here.
Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere, so prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware, we'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there. Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling you and me, every son of liberty. Hurry right away, no delay, go today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. Tell your sweetheart not to pine, to be proud her boy's in line. Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums run tumming everywhere, so prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware, we'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
Though World War I has been called the war to end all wars, less than a generation after that conflict, the forces of tyranny and oppression again threatened our country and her allies in the Second World War. For 4 years, American soldiers and millions of men and women on the home front fought and worked together to decisively defeat the Axis powers around the globe. American soldiers stormed across the plains of Europe and assaulted island fortresses throughout the Pacific to stop the Japanese advance. Despite fanatic resistance by the enemy, American soldiers would emerge victorious in both the European and Pacific theaters in 1945. General of the Armies John J. Pershing founded the United States Army Band in 1922. Today, almost a century later, the Army Band continues to play an important role in events of national and international significance, staging performances in the National Capital Region and around the globe. We now welcome the United States Army Band, Pershing's own. Music has always played a critical role in the forging of America's national identity. From the birth of our nation, Americans from all walks of life have used music to strengthen our bonds as fellow citizens during times of crisis, as well as to remember the achievements of those who came before us. The United States Army Band, Pershing's own, will now perform a medley of songs that recognize America's heroic efforts during the World War II era that helped rally the troops abroad and uplift the home front. Sing, sing, sing. This is the Army, Mr. Jones, and theme from the movie 1941. United States Army Band. The peace that so many had fought and died for on the World War II lasted just a few short years. In June 1950, the Cold War turned hot as American forces joined with the United Nations to resist communist aggression in Korea. Over 1.8 million American service members, many of them veterans of World War II, fought desperate battles at places called Break Ridge, Pork Chop Hill, and Sandbag Castle before an armistice, which continues to this day, was signed and the fighting came to an end. Less than a decade after the end of hostilities in Korea, the Army was again called upon to confront our nation's enemies in Southeast Asia. As the Army entered Vietnam, it implemented an innovative concept, the use of helicopters that introduced a revolution in warfare and created the concept of sky cavalry. Helicopter gunships mounted with machine guns and rockets rapidly delivered air assault troopers to the battlefield, where they could be supported by tactical air and overwhelming artillery fires. In 1965, the first of these air-mobile units from the 1st Cavalry Division was deployed.
On 14 November 1965, 450 soldiers from the 7th Cav Regiment dropped into landing zone X-ray in the Ai Drang Valley. I'm their battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore. Our soldiers are mostly young draftees. Our NCOs and officers are regular Army, the best. When we hit the ground, we ran straight into 2,000 seasoned North Vietnamese regulars. It was close combat, with the enemy just feet away. A hornet's nest of zipping bullets, bursting grenades, and hand-to-hand combat. But despite being outnumbered, these men held. After 3 days and nights of intense fighting, the shooting finally stopped. An American army of draft air citizen soldiers had battled North Vietnam's most experienced troops prevailed. The new combat techniques that we had mastered prior to deploying had proved successful. Your soldiers were courageous, self-disciplined, and committed to each other. They didn't let America down when called upon, and I'm proud of them all, as I know you are too.
The Vietnam War was our nation's longest conflict before the campaign in Afghanistan. More than 58,000 Americans lost their lives in Vietnam. 1,598 Americans remain unaccounted for and are never forgotten. The men and women of our Army fought in incredibly challenging conditions, but never wavered in their courage and commitment to the nation and each other. In the post-Vietnam era, thousands of American soldiers continue to serve the nation both in and out of uniform, truly soldiers for life. They helped transform America's Army into an all-volunteer force that became the world's most professional and capable military team. Today, the dedication and excellence of the American soldier is reflected in the United States Army Drill Team. We ask that no one use flash photography, as the soldiers are using real weapons with sharpened bayonets. However, we do encourage you to cheer and applaud the soldiers throughout the performance. Since the birth of our nation, American soldiers have always committed to a professional ethic of values, possess unquestionable character, and are highly competent. The drill team is the embodiment of these qualities. Members of the drill team are from all corners of the United States with a wide range of specialties. They have perfected their mission and are here to share it with you today. Ladies and gentlemen, your United States Army Drill Team. American soldiers have served and sacrificed in the Army to preserve our way of life, our values, and our future. The Army's trusted professionals have, are, and will always be prepared to defend the Constitution of the United States and answer America's call whenever and wherever needed. Today, the drill team is commanded by First Lieutenant Adam Skeenstra from Ontario, California. The drill team represents today's soldiers, as well as yesterday's heroes who proudly fought in the Revolutionary War and continue to serve in the mountains of Afghanistan, throughout the Middle East, Europe, Korea, and around the world. The Army is manned, equipped, and trained to execute any range of missions. This is done with the same trust, precision, discipline, and professionalism that the drill team display with each rifle spin and coordinated move. And now, the most difficult maneuver of all. The soldiers will continue to march as members from the front rank toss their rifle into the air over the formation to be caught by the soldier in the rear rank. This is again an exercise in trust, as each member will have to put their safety in the hands of their brothers in arms. This is the United States Army Drill Team's signature maneuver since 1958, the front to rear overhead rifle toss. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the ambassadors for today's Army, yesterday's heroes, and tomorrow's soldiers, your United States Army Drill Team! Throughout the last 2 decades of the 20th century, American soldiers brought about an end to the Cold War and conducted combat operations and humanitarian and peacekeeping missions in places like Grenada, Panama, Somalia, Haiti, and the Balkans. In 1990, America's Army, working side by side with joint and coalition partners, defeated the Iraqi military in just 100 hours of ground combat. Since September 11, 2001, the men and women of your Army have carried the fight to those who have threatened our way of life, from the deserts of Iraq to the mountains of Afghanistan. Your Army remains ever vigilant and in a constant state of readiness. American soldiers remain decisively engaged, taking the fight to our enemies around the globe.
Throughout history, the Army has proven to be adaptive and agile. The machine gun in World War I, the tank in World War II, the awesome power of combined arms in Korea, and the introduction of air mobile concepts in Vietnam. In the Cold War, we faced a numerically superior and sophisticated adversary who sought to destroy our democratic way of life. Today, against adversaries, whether nation-states or terrorists, soldiers will fight tenaciously for superiority in every realm of an increasingly complex battlefield. From space, in cyberspace, in the air, on the sea, and above all, on the earth.
Will cease, retain, and exploit the initiative in these realms as we create opportunities for our sister services, allies, and partners, and deny the enemy any advantage. The strength of our Army is the American soldier, and we are the nation's force of decisive action, always ready to lead the assault and destroy America's enemies. We are America's warriors.
I am Staff Sergeant Cheryl Hawkins from San Diego, California, and I am an American soldier. I am a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values. For 242 years, soldiers have served our nation during times of profound change and conflict. The one constant, our values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Values that will continue to inspire our soldiers for the next 242 years.
I am Sergeant Iwona Kosmaczewska from Białystok, Poland. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. I am disciplined, physically and mentally tough, trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills. I will always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself. These soldiers reflect our warriors' ethos: tough, disciplined, talented, and proud of our heritage.
I am Specialist Jalen Hines from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I am an expert and I am professional. I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States of America in close combat. I don't do this because I have to. I do it because our nation needs me. I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life. I am an American soldier, and we are Army Strong.
Father, raise a daughter and a son, be a lover to their mother, everything to everyone, up and at 'em bright and early. I'm all business in my suit, and I'm dressed up for success, from my head down to my boots. I don't do it for the money, there's bills that I can't pay. I don't do it for the glory, I just do it anyway. Providing for our future, my responsibility. And I'm real good under pressure, being all that I can be. And I can't call in sick on Monday when the weekend's been too strong. I just work straight through the holiday, sometimes all night long. And you can bet that I stand ready when the wolf growls at the door. Hey, I'm solid, hey, I'm steady, hey, I'm true down to the core. And I will always do my duty, no matter what the price. I've counted up the costs, oh, I know the sacrifice. And I don't want to die for you, but if dying's asked of me, I'll bear that cross with honor. This freedom don't come free. Oh, I'm an American soldier, an American. Beside my brothers and my sisters, I will proudly take a stand. When liberty's in jeopardy, I will always do what's right. Oh, I'm out here on the front line, sleep in peace tonight. American soldier, I'm an American soldier.
Now taking the floor are elements of your United States Army.
I'm an American soldier, an American. Beside my brothers and my sisters, I will proudly take a stand.